Hello and welcome to Celebrating Marvel Studios. This is a spoiler talk and discussion about WandaVision episode 7. I really hope to have gotten this out a little bit earlier because most of the spoilers are already out there, um, but there's insight that I have into this entire episode. So let us begin. So the episode starts with a common TV theme. And this one seems to be sort of a Modern Family kind of thing. I've also heard that it's kind of like The Office as well. I really have never watched any of those shows, but so I'm just making comparisons based on what people say. So the twins come running up into Wanda's bedroom. And they're like, oh my gosh, our video game is glitching, that we don't know what's been going on, and we're really kind of frightened. And Wanda's like, oh, I just want to rest. She's exhausted. So the kids go back downstairs, and she kind of lays there a second. She throws back the covers, and she's still in her Halloween costume, which is the comic accurate costume. So she knows that something really bad happened the night before, and she knows that Vision isn't there, and now she's gotta kind of deal with it. Vision awakes fully alive because of the expansion of the hex. It reincorporated him into actual life. But he's kind of confused, and everything around him is a circus, so he's not really entirely sure what is going on. And he happens to recognize Dr. Darcy Lewis, who, due to this expansion of the hex she got sucked into, she is an escape artist for the circus, and she has no idea who Vision is, and he's like, we connected eyes last night, you have no idea who I am. And she's like, no, and she kind of brushes him off and thinks he's a creeper, and he keeps following her around. And it's kind of frustrating because Vision wants answers, and the only way he's gonna get them is through Darcy. So Agnes shows up at the Maximoff household, and she sees that Wanda really needs a break, and she offers to take the twins for a little bit of time, just so that Wanda can, recollect herself and get better and reconcile with herself over what happened the night before. However, there are several more glitches in the house. Things changing and being funky, and Wanda, puts everything back, but then other things happen that are out of place. so this is driving her even more nuts. So outside of the hex, we're looking at Agent Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau kind of discussing what has been discovered via Darcy Lewis's research and whatnot. And it turns out Director Hayward wants Vision as well. And that has been his whole goal as far as, trying to get Vision back, because Wanda stole him. And we still don't know why that she was so adamant about bursting into the Sword laboratories and taking Vision out of there. That remains to be seen. So Monica has a certain vehicle devised for her to get into the hex, so that she can help Wanda and put everything back to where it should be. And so she's there, the vehicle is there, she's in there, she's taking charge of it, she's going forward, and she doesn't quite break the hex barrier. Vision mentally releases Darcy from this hold of the hex, and she eventually tells him about his existence and what has happened to him over the course of time and why he's here now and all that kind of good stuff. Meanwhile, there are still some more glitches going on at the Maximoff household, and then in the light of the television show that this episode is replicating, Wanda's talking to the camera, and she's just like blah blah blah, and yeah, and then somebody from behind the camera talks, and she's like, "You're not supposed to talk." So then we get the commercial, and the commercial is for Nexus, and it kind of is a play on somebody who goes dark and crazy and creates their own realm or town or existence. And it's been interesting because in most of these commercials, it has been the same lady that's been in the commercials. So now my theory on that is that because we're expecting multiverses coming into play in the MCU, that with this commercial being of Nexus, is that Westview is going to be a nexus for other realities to come in, out, whatnot. I mean, that's just my opinion, but there's got to be some truth in that, I would think. So we're back at Agnes's house, and the twins are actually having a good time, and Billy's sitting there, petting Senior Scratchy, the bunny, and he's just like, Agnes, I really like you. You're quiet. And Agnes is like, in the back of her head, she's like, how would I be able to tell two 10-year-olds that their mother is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? you know? And it's kind of funny because like an offshoot, like, the show that it's supposed to replicate. So after Monica basically fails with the vehicle going in through the hex, and it gets shot back out, and half of it is now a pickup truck. She just decides that, I can get in. I've been there before. I can get in. So she takes off her helmet, runs up to the barrier of the hex, and she starts pushing her way through. And as she's going through, there are so many cool moments that actually really happen that you have to pay attention to, because you hear things from her mother Maria, you hear things from Nick Fury, and you hear things from Captain Marvel. And this is just so awesome because it's just like tying things in together. And knowing that once she emerges from the hex, she now has powers. Like, her DNA was already like flipped from the time that she was there before and forced out. So going back in, her composition has totally changed. And yeah, she has powers. It's great. Monica gets to Wanda's, and she walks in the house and says, I'm here to help you. And Wanda's like, whoa, what are you doing in my house? I have already evicted you from this place. And Monica's just like, no, I need to help you. I need to help you. You have to understand. And Wanda's like, F you. She pushes Monica out of the house, up into the air, and, basically says, get away. I know what's going on. I don't need you here. And just go away. And she decides to drop her to the ground, which pretty much to stun her or whatever, but Monica's powers kick in. She does a nice little superhero landing, and Wanda's like, woo, okay, I did not see that coming. So off in the distance, Agnes is looking through her window and seeing this transaction between Wanda and Monica. So, she goes out and she steps in and she's just like, Wanda here really needs rest. So I'm gonna, direct her to my place, and we're gonna take care of her. You should probably just go away and mind your own business. And Agnes walks off with Wanda, and Monica is just like, Wanda, I'm here to help you. And Wanda looks back and says, don't make me hurt you. Oh, it's so frustrating because we all know what's coming up. Well, we don't all know. So at Agnes's, she brings Wanda into the living room, sets her down, says, let me get you some tea. Just relax and don't worry about anything. And Wanda's sitting there, just kind of going, oh, okay, all right. And she sees the living room table ahead of her and notices that there's, some half-eaten peanut butter jelly sandwiches with, a couple of glasses of water, juice, or whatever. So she was just like, where are the twins? And Agatha, preparing the tea, is just like, oh, they must be playing in the basement. So Wanda is just like, okay, it's kind of peculiar. So she gets up and she wanders over and she goes to the basement door, opens it up, walks down into it. She calls for the boys, doesn't hear anything. She continues to walk in and things start getting a little bit more weird. There's like tree roots among the walls, and she enters into this room where there are various arcane things going on. There's a book sitting on a table that is emitting some sort of radiation of light and dust, and she's kind of really curious as to what is going on, and then she hears this clank of a door just shutting, and she's startled, and all of a sudden Agnes comes forward and she looks totally different, and she says, "Oh, did you really think that you were the only magical girl in town?" And she has Senior Scratchy in her hands, and her hair is all like frazzled, and she has the brooch up here, which she has worn in several episodes in different places. And then she says, "I'm Agatha Harkness," and her eyes light up purple. It shoots to Wanda. Her eyes like light up purple, and there's that. So to me, I called it, kind of in a way. There was a review of one of the other episodes where I was talking about Agnes, but I said Agatha instead, because I knew somewhere in the back of my head that she was Agatha. For those of you that don't know anything about Agatha Harkness, this was probably nothing for you. And in all actuality, the reveal is actually kind of a little bit lame, depending on how they're gonna proceed with this. There's 2 more episodes left, and there was also a mid-credits sequence that was added to this episode, the first one of the season, and it is Monica investigating around Agnes's house. She opens doors to the basement and then instantly is influenced by the magic, and then all of a sudden behind her is Peter Pietro. We don't know how we're defining that yet, and he's like, "Snooper's gonna snoop," and that's it. So it's really interesting because there is a lot of what is going on in the series that has happened in the comics, and there are things that I really hope kind of don't go the way that they do in the comics. In the comics, Tommy and Billy are actually remnants of Mephisto, who is sort of like a devil/Satan character. And he manifests them to Wanda, and eventually he takes them back into his soul, and that causes her to go wonky, but for some reason or another, I don't know if it's through a multiverse or whatnot, but she's able to get the twins back. So we have to see what's going on. I want the twins to be there. I think especially because Billy becomes a very popular, openly gay character in the Marvel universe, in the comics. So I'm hoping that, he's already been introduced, it's like cool, but he's young, probably isn't aware of his sexuality yet, and yeah, want that to happen. Other than that, I'm really kind of trying to decide how Agatha is really going to play into this, because she necessarily wasn't a villain per se in the comics. She had some manipulations, yes, but she eventually, was a guidepost to Wanda in the area of witchcraft and a protector of the twins. And she was also involved with the Fantastic Four, helping them out. I've heard or learned more of her as being a good person rather than a bad person. But how they do this in the show is, it could change everything. So there we go. We're talking about episode 7 of WandaVision. Thoughts, theories, spoilers. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff on the notification bell. In case you want to see what I think about future episodes or what is going on with the MCU. There's also various other things that I talk about, such as action figures and toys and Funko Pops and my spirituality of Wicca, and plenty of other things. So thank you so much for watching. Certainly appreciate it, and as always, love and light to you all.